Good afternoon, welcome to our panel, Painting Immigrant Portraits. My name is Michelle Cruz, I'm a fellow for the U.S. Child Revival Mural Project. Today, we'll hear from student artists who are participated in creating portraits that represent stories and lived experiences of undocumented people in the United States. The artist, Dr. Lizbeth Santana, and her students who collaborated on mounting the mural will be reflecting on their experiences of exploring U.S. child immigration issues through hands-on and embodied process of painting and installing the mural and through sustained presence of the community, meaning and engaging with local residents. We'll talk today about the artistic process and ethical responsibility, emotional impact, and what it means to create create art rooted in immigration stories in today's political climate. So we'll start with some introductions. We have today Rachelle Campos. Rachelle is an undergraduate student at Baruch College, majoring in digital communications with a minor in Latino studies. Her academic focus and creative work centers art as a tool to uplift, document, and amplify the lived experiences and voices of her community. She is passionate about using storytelling, culture, and media to create meaningful representation and social impact. And we also have Madeline Mendoza today. She is from the Dominican Republic and her senior at Baruch College. She has been passionate about politics since she was a young age. And we also have Estrella Martinez today. She's a junior at Baruch College, majoring in digital communications with a minor in Latino studies. She's a first-generation Mexican-American college student who loves opportunities to do creative, community-focused work and conversations about culture, identity, and media. On campus, she's involved in marketing and culture organizations and is excited to share her experiences with other students. We also have Samantha Quervalu. She is a senior at Baruch College, currently studying Black and Latino studies, minoring in psychology with a passion for mental health and advocacy. And my name is Michelle Cruz. I'm also a senior at Baruch College. I'm studying sociology and I also have a minor in law and policies. I also had the opportunity to go to Fresno to install the sister mural this last summer. I also got to meet more storytellers. Also got the opportunity to meet other storytellers during the last spring semester, as part of Dr. Lizbeth's speaker series. We got to meet Krista, Faye, Kachumari. They're part of the murals. You can see their faces. But we can start with the first question, and this has to do with your creative process. Can you describe a process for painting the portraits that are part of the U.S. Child Revival mural?
Yeah, sure. So the mural itself, speaks more to the people who are being showcased and the kind of art that it was. It was, like paint by number style. So like all of the paintings are like very simplistic in the sense that anyone that doesn't really have that much experience in painting murals, like large murals, and like can seem a little intimidating at first. But the setup of it is pretty simple. You just follow the pattern and Professor Elizabeth prints out like the images so that way we can follow along with the people. And as we're doing it, like, you're really focusing on like who it is that you're painting and like why are you painting them and like everything that comes with that. Anyone else?
Yeah, so I guess just to follow up with what Sam was saying, it's sort of like it's a paint by the number method. So again, it's very easy. It's not too complicated. Dr. Lizbeth curated it this way so that it could be easy for people with limited to no art experience, I guess, which is also what makes it such a interesting and cool experience. In the beginning, when you look at it, all looks all over the place, and you might think that it's gonna. When you see a bunch of lines, you sort of get like thrown on. You question if it's gonna look good or not. Once it's done and finished, it actually is worth seeing all the work put.
I would say also, it's like a fun way to connect with the people in your classroom because sometimes we see like, oh, we just like talk to the professor occasionally. But I would recommend like be open-minded to speak with people because sometimes they will like be open to talk to you because feel like just shy at first. And also as someone who has no audio skills, that was a pretty easy backline. Even if more if like if you're like perfectionist people where you like little and paint like little slow, it's very cool. And also you can put music and talk and wherever you feel comfortable itself like doing the project. And I was like, pretty easy, pretty straightforward, and the environment is pretty chill, and you feel so comfortable to open even spoke more with the professor as well.
So these portraits are not just fictional subjects, they're real people. So I want to talk about the responsibility and representation. So my second question will be, what responsibility did you feel when representing the story of an undocumented person through the painting of the portraits?
Is this gonna happen? Should we just turn the lights?
Good
on?
job.
I
I feel like the responsibility you have to paint someone's story or face is very deep because you're not just reading like their info, their bases or whatever like they put. You read like all the like different things they have and how they're facing it. So like the responsibility of that is like to have a lot of empathy, to have be open minded, to feel like atrocious things have they been suffering or living since a young age. Also, how the deportees who live in another country was a few years ago, they still have like this representation because they married as well. So you have to have open eyes and empathy, even more like in teaching with the climate, who we can see how even innocent young kids and people from all ages are being like destroyed, ripped out a part of like regular daily basis lifestyle. So it's very like painful to see sometimes. And also you can have be more it's painful to see and to live through it. You have like more like an immigrant backstory of that. So you have more connection with them.
Just to follow up, I guess the responsibility that one kind of goes through or one has when doing a project like this is, so for this project, aside from painting and having to do that, during our trips to Bushwick, when installing the portraits, I found myself grabbing the camera and sort of having to question myself, how do I sort of portray the same, I guess, feelings and through the camera. So that was also a pretty cool experience. Again, these are people's true stories, they're not fictional characters, especially when you've gotten the chance to meet them and paint their stories with them. It's also very rewarding and such a nice feeling.
And I just wanted to touch on, like, I think there's a lot of intentionality behind everything that Professor Liz like has us help create as well. Like, you know, it's a whole step-by-step process. Like, you know, you come into the class and you're introduced to these topics and you learn about these people's stories, and then you start to like have the individual people that you're working on. And then when you're painting them, there's a lot of like, obviously, although you're gonna handle with care, there's like a special kind of like care that you're taking a moment to like really make sure that, like, as everyone has said, like, these are people's stories. You don't want to just rush through this. If you have to go over it a few times, you go over it a few times. Like, you want to make sure that everything is done perfect, not just so that it looks perfect, but because like it's someone and you want to make sure that you're like giving it that place and like that importance.
I helped paint the murals 2 times, and my first time was I was volunteering for it. And so although I enjoyed painting, I didn't really feel the weight that I had to feel that I'm painting these people's stories and they're trusting us to accurately portray them in a way that's sensible and empathetic. And so I was just painting to help Dr. Lizbeth out and all the other students out. And so our previous semester, I was her student, and we took the time to really delve into their stories and learn about their reasonings and their journeys coming to and in the US. I really felt that that weight that is on their shoulders, and that these deportees or these people currently living here, they're not able to speak out in full confidence or full trust that they're protected. And so it's up to us to really relay that message they're trying to relay. Yeah, so this project was not done by just one person. It was a collaborative project that's part of a larger mural installation. So my third question is, what was it like to create a art as part of a collective mural effort? And how did collaboration with classmates and volunteers shape your experience?
I guess I'll start, working alongside classmates during the multiple paintings that I've gotten the chance to work on is, again, such a rewarding experience. You connect with people, you meet new people, people that you had classes previously before with, and you just like probably never talked to, but projects like these can bring you, closer to people and just meet new people in general.
Yeah, I'm to Rochelle. I actually met Michelle and Rochelle for my first time painting the murals. And also the second time painting the murals, I was actually painting them with classmates. I took my first time taking Dr. Lizbeth's class. And like Rochelle said, I didn't really talk to them that much. And although we didn't delve into like deep, meaningful conversations painting the murals, but it was like, oh, can you pass me this? Can you help me create this color? Can you help me figure out this color? And it was just whole community fostering environment painting the murals.
I would say also, it's a very fun experience as well. Because in my case, last semester I took a class and my group were all speak Spanish. So our group was just listen music and speak Spanish. Even the professor jumping and started speaking Spanish with us. It was very fun because for the first time ever in my 4 years here in Peru, like I feel like so connect at the same time and like have more knowledge for like the system for my older students in the classroom was very deep. Even I still spoke with some of the girls I were last semester to today. And even this can match or like reveal like the connection you have during the class, even with the professor or with the classmates. And you can choose like at the end of the semester, like having like this project, the group project. And it's gonna be so fun because you have like even it's not even connect, but like more you know this person a little bit more, so you feel more comfortable to sharing ideas, to sharing like disagreements or whatever you want to do, guys. It's very helpful, very fun, very detailed, and very deep. As I said before, once you have like a migrant background, you're going to connect with more people, like more detail and more deeply too as well.
And I think also it helps you like realize, like, I think so much of like our work today is like very individualistic. So when you have the opportunity to work on something that's like this collaborative, where you're not just going home and running home to work on a paper or to research a topic or to create something on your own, and like you're only focused on your grade. This is something that everyone has to like, it's a huge thing. There's like, these murals are gigantic, like they're very big. They take a lot of time, they take a lot of effort, something as simple as like someone being a little bit taller to reach certain parts or helping each other hold the murals and like hold the sheets to like outline or paint or varnish. Like there's multiple steps that you need multiple hands. Like you need a lot of hands to like make it all work together. Like you can't, like one person can't just be behind the whole thing. Like it's a team effort. And I think that allows you to like really, like we've said, like, bond with other students, get to know other people, but in a different light than just like, everyone's kind of get something out of it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like, who's the best at it? Because everyone's doing the same thing. You're working towards the same goal. You're not working towards a letter grade or something like that.
So many students that have participated in the mural have expressed that this project is emotionally different than other assignments, typical assignments that we do in college. So what was there a moment during the process that shifted your perspective on immigration or undocumented life? And did any story stay with you after you finished the painting, and why?
I think one of the first time that I worked with Professor Liz, I think it was like my freshman year or sophomore year. We were, working on the paintings. We were just doing it in the VLS department. And it was the time when she had some speakers coming in, speak to us about their stories and share the stories that we were working on as we were doing it. And one of the speakers, Dean, who was a Haitian veteran that got deported, came and spoke to us about, his whole story and, why, like just giving us insight on who he was. And I remember, because that day I wasn't feeling great, so I was either about to skip, I was about to head home, but I decided to just push through and go. And as I'm working on the painting, like, we start to hear his voice and he's like sitting in the room while talking to us as we're painting. And I like slowly, direct my attention more towards him than to the painting. And just sitting there and listening to like his, like, it's a heavy, like his life story is really heavy. It was really impactful of like just hearing someone that had contributed, quite a lot, like, he was in the military, he was a veteran, and like to get deported, it's not really easy. Like, yes, it's, emotionally heavy, but like it kind of goes to give you that, extra motivation to handle with care, be intentional, and, just be aware of like what you're creating. And that really stuck with me. Because that was a story that, you read briefly about. It's different to read about people's stories than for them to come in person and talk to you about them and like see them have like an emotional moment and see other people painting their face, like them seeing that process. It's very emotional and it's very heavy, and it just makes you realize that like you're a part of something that's very impactful, not just to one person, but to multiple people.
So I definitely agree with Sam. Dean's visit is also a visit that's will sort of just stay with me forever, because he was the first person from the project to visit us at school. Like mentioned, he is a deported veteran, and like he mentioned, I guess being someone who decided to fight for this country and give it all to this country, the same country decided to turn on him and send him back, which was, it's absolutely, it's very devastating to hear. And his story as well, when I learned that he went to the high school around my area, knowing it's not the best area, and just kind of his life, his growing up, and the story with his kids was also pretty deep and very, very sad. So yeah, just again, to emphasize the idea that these people, for example, touching a little bit on the subject of deported veterans, like in Dean's case, there are people who risk their lives to serve this country, and it's the same country that turns back on them the minute the slightest thing happens.
Yeah, Santa Rachelle, makes you think like who is really an American, who counts as an American, who is being treated as an American. I cannot remember her name, but we painted a mural of her, and she built herself up. She immigrated here, and she went to a Ivy League school. She got a master's degree. She worked at a really big, I think, consulting firm. I think so. And she got making six figures. She got her own house, and she was living on quote unquote the American dream, but she was told before she came that she was able to achieve it. She came and worked hard. And that's all she did. She worked hard and hard and hard. She saved herself. And then she said that she still didn't feel like she was part of this country because she was scared. Like every day she was living in fear that one day she'd be deported. Or one day they just switch up on her and say, you're not really part of this country. And so she ended up self-deporting. I think now she lives in Europe, and she says she lives way happier over there than she ever lived here, even though she achieved quote unquote the American dream here. And I think hearing her story really, maybe like that's horrible. Like you work so hard, you do everything people tell you to do to be the perfect American, the perfect immigrant, and even then you still don't have the protection that you belong here. Another one?
I don't remember if the professor bring up some like the micro approaches to the class, but I really remember like each author of like the books or the readings you recommend as well was perfect, and we have the pleasure and to meet each one of them, even they have shared their own migrant story, how they still here. Madeline Mendoza, she's Colombian, and she shared a little bit of more how she migrated here to the US, specifically to New York. Also, we read two books about him. We have the pleasure to meet him a few times, but he's like a Mexican American, like third generation, but still have this struggle to live, even he's legally here, his family secure, his profile to be deported, and most of us sometimes we're profiled to be deported or just picked up by the government. All these things are happening at the same time. But one of like the stories who remain me was a little family. It was a family Martinez family, we like the wife, the husband, the little kid, the little girl, who was the daughter. It was a beautiful story to hear and to read as well. We don't have the pleasure to meet them because they're so busy. But I think they story reminds me because they both work hard, have migrant families, they're like first generation. Me as a first generation have like asked the struggle to be like build a little bit of my future or like help my parents or my mom with my dad. And also how to feel comfortable here. Because even I know like first generation Dominican American, I just might here like a few years ago, have the struggle at the same time as anyone who's even born here as well.
Thank you for that. So these portraits are meant to be seen publicly and to spark up conversations. So how do you hope viewers respond when they see these portraits? And what conversations do you hope this artwork will start?
I definitely think, and hope that, like, when people see the work that they take a moment to like read the stories and to see that, some of these people share similar stories with with themselves or with their family, and to like find a little bit of commonality and similarities in the sense of like, we're painting these stories, but they're not that different from our very own, like, parents or grandparents or family members. And I guess like the hope is also like not only to, realize that what these people are going through is unfair, unjust, and just straight up wrong, but also to see it in themselves, see themselves represented in a work that maybe they're not going to see themselves represented throughout media as much, but at least in a mural portrait, you can find similarities with yourselves and just like realize that, stories similar to your own are being put in the spotlight for a moment, and like that chance to like be heard.
Yeah, so to follow up, okay, so, right, so I hope for positive conversations, I hope for positive thoughts in regards to these projects. Again, if we kind of take a look into what's currently going on, current administrations and everything, the same way that these stories were around during different administrations, I fear that we will also, in a couple of years, projects like these will be done with current stories of current, people's situations. And, it's sad, it should not be like this, but we must continue to learn and we must continue to educate ourselves and these topics, and I hope that projects like these continue to inspire more people to participate and make a difference.
Santa Rochelle, we're currently living in a very anti-immigration environment right now with the political climate. We have all these horrible stereotypes being put on immigrants, even Pacific immigrants. And I think really the whole point of being part of this mural and Dr. Lizbeth's the creation of this mural, having college students help out, is humanizing these stories, also making it accessible for people to be part of creating these murals, and also making it accessible for people to learn about these murals. She makes the stories very concise, very empathetic, and very you could tell she puts a lot of care into these stories. And so seeing her and her empathy and all her effort just like leads on to us, and we want to execute the same exact effort as her.
We'll say the same thing. I jump on that because this, like as I said before, it's a positive activity even to connect with your own roots, because you start to learning more and more, and will have like this little curiosity to like ask your parents or ask your grandparents or someone like, oh, what was like when you come here, and you have like they open your eyes basically, because you say, oh, basically everyone has like a similar experience, similar story. So it's like also like interconnected. So, and I wish like this semester take another class with Professor De La Cruz. But sadly, she should like take one class. It's you guys. Sadly, that's the only class she's is doing this semester. But was like so positive, the impact she have even the students and the project itself. I still remember like detail. I have like in my phone whole organization, like all the porters I paint and all the things I do, even my hands, like for 3 days straight was just like nasty with all the paintings and was chaotic because even in the office, we're doing painting as well. So I hope she's still doing this, for you guys, for more generation, for more classes, for more semesters, because it's have, with this political climate, this current administration, all this chaos was happening around the country, even the world, I think people will like open more the eyes and stop going blindless to like just one political idea or this internal like rejection to diversity here in the US and around the world as well.
So as we mentioned before, these are real people, they're not fictional characters. So my next question will be about ethical representation. So what does ethical representation mean to you after this experience?
That's a good question. When I think of like ethical representation, I think of like, I think certain things that we've already brought up before, like intentionally like participating in a work that is going to showcase someone's story in like, in a honest way, in a vulnerable way. Like I think it's for me now after the project, I think doing the proper research, doing like, crossing, doing your due diligence on like what topics are you like exploring with the specific project, who are you exploring, what's the demographic? And it's like a demographic of also specifically like men and women, children, it's like, like people of color, and it's like, I think to be able to like ethically represent them is to like be able to cover all your bases in a way and make sure that like as much as you can to like give, that representation to people who didn't have it previously. So I think that's like kind of how I think of it now, to like be intentional in what you're researching, be intentional in what you're creating, and make sure that it's as honest and also like within reason. Like, some people may not want their whole story, I guess exposed in a way. So to be able to like, know where and when to like stop and at what point, you can share certain things and maybe certain things not share. But yeah.
Yeah, to follow up, I remember when we were working on, I think it was Krista, who, when she sent over her work for us to work on, a lot of the stuff was, she blurred a lot of faces and pictures, and, that just shows us to be also, we learn to be respectful with their stories. Again, just doing it for their safety, and like Sam said, knowing when and how, just learning how to be careful also, especially with, everything going on. And
I also recommend like if you don't like just blur the faces, also put in like nicknames or fictionally individual. That's another ethical way to protect their identity, their story, because we don't know if someone are looking for them and going to do something bad. So the perfect thing is put like a nickname besides with their faces, and just have created like a fictional world, but also is their reality. Just to protect what they are, who they are, and what they are doing now and nowadays.
Yeah, especially right now, we see ICE agents detaining immigrants or taking advantage of immigrants sexually or physically. I think also have to understand that the families of these victims, if they come out and say, this is my family member, they're not obligated to tell us anything about their family or obligated to tell us any updates of what's happening. On TikTok, I see a lot of videos of these children filming their parents getting detained. And people are asking, oh, is there an update on your mom? Is there an update on your mom? Like, what's going on? And there's no response. And people are like getting angry at them for not telling them what's going on with their family. But also kind of comes from our side, like, of course we're worried about them, we want to know what's going on, but they're also not obliged to tell us what's going on. as well as to respect their privacy and what they want for themselves and their family. Yeah, so thank you for that. Just to acknowledge our audience today, they are a class of Lizbeth this semester. So if they were to paint the mural, what should student artists keep in mind when working with and representing vulnerable communities?
Well, I guess just learn to be patient. I think patience plays a big role in projects like these.
A lot of communication,
Yeah,
a lot of communication with the people you work in groups during the painting. Because maybe you can have a disagreement, but you have to have even be coordinated to each of you have like a function during the painting, like someone can paint the hair, the face, the eyes, da. And also communication, patience, teamwork. That's the basic, the most important thing you need to do with these kind of projects, works. Also, be open to whatever's gonna happen during the classroom. Because it's gonna be a little like messy around with the paintings, even with your hands and your clothes, so be comfy with that. Be comfy with your wet clothes, and I think that's the one.
I would also say, like, if you get the opportunity to like work with someone specifically and like giving their story, and like, you know, you have to make either like a digital narrative or paint their, or if you have the chance to like speak to someone, just like ask questions and like be curious is something that like I think is something that I would recommend a lot. I feel like a lot of people, maybe it's hard at first to know what to ask with something simple as like, oh, like, what's your, like, how did you get here? Like, what did you want to do? Or like, what are your goals? What are your, like, the ambitions that you have? And I think asking questions helps you realize, like, a lot of these people have similar goals that we have, you know, be able to have a stable job, be able to have a family, be able to keep them safe. And I think, like, you know, once you get to like a little bit more in depth about who they are, like, it gives you that space to like learn to be patient with them, learn to like understand and just be empathetic.
So just to close with the reflection and looking forward, what skills, artistic or otherwise, did you develop through this project? What would you tell future students who are considering participating in a project like this?
I think skills wise, there was like for the digital narrative, you have to learn to use like video editing softwares. And although like that's like a very like a specific thing that maybe wouldn't come to mind when doing like a mural, like there's different aspects of, you know, these projects. So I think like being able to use a platform that people use for like content creation for something that's a little bit more deeper, a little bit more emotional, a little bit more heavy. That's a skill that, you know, I have a little bit now, just like very intro, very novice level to like kind of know how to use these platforms, I guess, or like softwares.
To answer the second question, like what I would tell future students who are considering taking a course right of discussion or to painting a mural, would just be to treat the project with care, be responsible with it, learn to love the project. I mean, you'll love it eventually. Because I mean, for example, like the first mural that I did that was taken down to the US-Mexico border. I've never been to the West Coast, so doing these projects, it's like having a little piece of me on the other side of the country, which is really, it's a really cool thing. And yeah, I hope to visit those spots sometime.
For me, the first time I painted the murals, I painted it with my boyfriend. And so it was just me and him working on one portrait. And so I kind of took over painting the mural. And so my second time I did it with my class. And I kind of learned like I have to really like, stick with my little section and not to respect other people's sections. I learned how to really, like Samantha was emphasizing earlier, collaborating and communicating. Okay, I'll do this side, you do that side, but we can also help each other if we need it, but we have to say we need help. You can't just assume the other person needs it.
Another skill you learn during this project is to be patient. If you're like a patient person, you need to like have the follow the other people like this, because you can feed it like your own station like 20 minutes and the other people take twice of that. So patience, also the skills to have like editing a lot of things. I do audiovisual, essays, how they give you like a lot of tools to like develop a lot of more things that you can do in the future. It is no matter for her class, but like for the class as well, they have similarities of that, and I can see for myself, I can open more my eyes in like the comic art, because I know now it's like a long process of pain, of patience, of hours of work. Even your body hurts sometimes. You can look like a little granny because your body's gonna stick a little bit together. But besides that, it's a beautiful project, and everyone needs to do that. I would recommend 100% to anyone, no matter like, no matter like who they are or what they come from. You learn a lot of stories, a lot of other stories, a lot of love, I can say, because humans have some feelings for the migrants, for the portraits, because you have connect with them in some kind of way.
Thank you for that. So that was my last question. Thank you, guys. A round of applause. Yes, I know Liz also did a mini documentary showcasing the process of what is like to do a mural, like a big scale. So you guys are welcome to stay and watch the mini documentary. You guys can also follow us on Instagram to learn more about the mural project. It's called US Child Arrivals Mural. And you guys can also visit the mural here in New York City. It's going to be up for the next 10 years at 87 Central Ave in Bushwick. So you guys are also welcome to go and see the mural in person.